The story of the Raven Pine for is a tale that local authorities have tried to bury for years. It begins with for friends Liam, a budding filmmaker obsessed with the paranormal, Mara. The skeptic who was always just a little too aware of her surroundings, Eli. The group's comic relief, and Sora, the quiet observer. They set out into Raven Pine Woods, a place steeped in local folklore, to investigate reports of strange lights seen by travelers. Their goal was simple: to capture proof on camera. As they ventured deeper, the familiar sounds of the forest faded into an unnerving silence. The air grew heavy, thick with an unspoken tension. Liam, camera in hand, whispered his mission statement into the lens. "We're here for proof, not just another ghost story." But Mora couldn't shake the feeling they were being watched. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of leaves behind them, sent a chill down her spine. They were following a path that, according to local maps, simply didn't exist. It was a thin, winding trail that seemed to pull them further into the wood's forgotten heart. Eli tried to lighten the mood with a joke about getting lost, but his voice hitched, betraying his own fear. It was Sora who found the first sign that something was deeply wrong. Carved into the bark of an ancient oak was a spiral symbol. It looked fresh, the grooves still wet. But as they leaned closer, the coppery smell hit them. It wasn't sap or paint. Liam, driven by his need for answers, urged them forward. He was convinced the symbols were breadcrumbs leading to the source of the lights. As dusk began to settle, casting long, distorted shadows, they saw it a faint, ethereal glow flickering between the trees ahead. It wasn't the warm, dancing light of a campfire. It pulsed with a steady and natural rhythm, a silent heartbeat in the encroaching darkness. They moved toward it, cautious but captivated. Then, in an instant, the glow vanished. The world plunged into a suffocating, absolute blackness. Their flashlights died simultaneously. Panic set in, and then they heard it. A sound that didn't belong. Not a footstep, but a slow, heavy shifting in the undergrowth. Something was circling them, moving with a deliberate weight that made no sound on the dry leaves. Mara's voice was a strained whisper when she said it wasn't one thing. It was several. Eli, his bravado gone, stammered that they needed to turn back. But when they looked, the path was gone. The forest had changed round them. Every tree they could see was now marked with the same spiral. Symbol. Sora let out a choked gasp, pointing a trembling finger. The symbols weren't static. They were moving, twisting slowly on the bark as if the trees themselves were alive. That's when the voice came. It wasn't human. It didn't come from a single direction, but seemed to emanate from the very air, from the wood and leaves and soil. It was a chorus of ancient whispers that asked a single, chilling question. Why did you follow the light? Liam, ever the documentarian, raised his camera, but the screen showed something impossible. It displayed a live feed of the very clearing they were supposedly heading towards. And in that clearing stood for figures. Their silhouettes eerily familiar, they were echoes of themselves. A premonition frozen in time, the forest whispered again. Its voice now laced with a dark invitation. Step forward. The light returned, no longer distant but right there with them. It was a single orb, hovering just above the ground, a living, breathing sphere of cold light. It darted between the trees, a playful, taunting guide. Before anyone could stop him, Eli, mesmerized, broke into a run, chasing the orb. The other screamed his name, scrambling after him through the disorienting woods. The light led them into a small, perfect clearing. Eli was there, standing completely still, his face pale, his eyes wide with terror as he pointed a shaking finger toward the sky. Above them, dozens of identical orbs floated like a silent, ghostly constellation, each one pulsed with that same unnatural heartbeat. One of the orbs descended, drifting down until it hovered inches from Liam's face. Then it opened, not like a mouth, but like a vast, unblinking eye that saw everything. Liam's scream was raw, primal, and it was answered by a low, guttural rumble that shook the ground beneath them. The forest itself was responding. The orbs tightened their formation, circling the group, trapping them in a cage of light. Sora grabbed Mera's hand, her voice barely audible. "Don't look at them," she pleaded. But it was too late. The orbs were already inside their minds, flashes of memory, sharp and painful, assaulted them, childhood nightmares, long-buried secrets. Every regret and fear they had ever known. The orbs weren't just watching, they were feeding, consuming their very essence. The collective voice of the woods returned, its tone now one of grim finality. "You should not have entered. The forest remembers every step." All around them, the trees began to creak and groan, their massive trunks bending inward, their branches interlocking like the ribs of a great beast closing round its heart. Liam dropped his camera. It clattered to the ground, but continued to record. Its lens pointed at the horrifying scene. It captured their shadows, stretched and twisted by the pulsing lights, until they began to merge with the encroaching darkness, losing their form. One by one, the orbs winked out, plunging the clearing into absolute silence. The camera kept rolling, its red light a solitary witness, recording nothing but the empty space where four friends had just stood. Weeks later, a search party found the camera half buried in mud and leaves. The final frames of the footage are the most disturbing part of this entire story. The video shows the clearing, empty at first, but as the investigators enhanced the image, they saw them. Four figures, standing motionless. Their faces were there, but they were wrong-stretched, blurred, and distorted into impossible shapes, as if they were still screaming, still moving. Trapped between worlds, no bodies were ever recovered. Raven Pine Woods was officially closed to the public, sectioned off by miles of chain-link fence. But the locals still talk. They warn anyone who gets too close to the woods. If you ray out near Raven Pine at night, and you see a strange light in the trees, turn round. Run. Don't follow it. Because the forest remembers, and it's always hungry. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking round to the very end of this story. If that sent a shiver down your spine, do me a huge favor and smash that like button. It really helps the channel out more than you know. And if you're hungry for more creepy tales and things that go bump in the night, make sure you hit subscribe and ring that notification bell. I've got a ton of horrifying stories planned that I can't wait to share with all of you. Your support means I can keep bringing these nightmares to life. So, what did you think of tonight's story? Let me know your theories in the comments below. I read every single one. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay spooky.